Good evening, everyone. This is Sean Pendley, County Planning Staff, and I will like to call the Johnson County Planning Commission meeting to order for January 27th. If we could, we'll start with a roll call.
Yes, Gregory Wolf.
Here.
David Paderas.
Here.
Brad Miller is absent. Lindsay Grisay.
Present via Zoom.
Thank you. Fred Starrett is absent. Stephen McGank.
Here.
Tim Orrick.
Present.
Leslie Hind.
Present.
Craig Connell.
Here.
Andrew Logan.
Present.
Kevin Hogan is absent, and Rod Richardson is also absent. Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. This is Sean Pendley with County Planning Staff again, and the reason why staff is starting this meeting is we don't have a chair for the Planning Commission here in attendance this evening, so what we're going to do is we'll start off the meeting. We'll recommend a change in the order of agenda, and what we would like to do is move the election of officers up to the next item. And I'm sorry if I missed this. Did we already get the virtual statement?
I'll do that now.
Thank you.
This meeting is now being recorded in the board hearing room with Planning Commission members attending in person. There's also an option for virtual attendance on Zoom webinar. For Zoom participants wishing to speak, please use the raise hand function in the Zoom app at the start of the agenda item on which you desire to comment. Comments will be received from in-person attendees first, followed by Zoom participants. When it is your turn to speak, the moderator will recognize you by the name or phone number used to join the Zoom webinar, and your microphone will be unmuted. Please state your name and the community where you reside for the record, followed by your comments. All public speakers will be limited to 2 minutes unless the chair designates a different time period. If you have trouble with Zoom, please call 913-715-9666. Board members, staff, and presenters, please state your name every time you begin talking and speak into the microphone so your comments can be transcribed for the record. This is a public meeting. We are presenting live and recording the meeting.
Thank you. This is Sean Pendley again with County Planning Staff. So what I would like to do now is move up in the agenda order, the next item to be election of officers. So we would like to entertain motions for a chair and vice chair. These would be new positions. We do this annually. If you recall, we normally try to have this in June of every year, but we've been delaying this because there's been some shortage of attendance. So we would like to do that this evening. So if I could, we'll entertain motions for chair and vice chair.
This is Craig Connell. I'd like to nominate Greg Wolf for chair. He led one of our earlier meetings, I think, a few months ago and did a fine job.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'd second that. Tim Orrick, second that.
Thank you. That sounds good. So we have a nomination for Greg Wolf as chair and a second. If we could have a roll call. Are there any other nominations for chair? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Yep, Gregory Wolf.
I'll abstain.
Okay. David Paderas.
Aye.
Lindsay Grisay.
Aye.
Stephen McGank.
Aye.
Tim Orrick.
Aye.
Leslie Hind.
Aye.
Craig Connell.
Aye.
And Andrew Logan.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Now, if we could have a motion for vice chair.
I'd move to nominate Tim Orrick for vice chair.
Craig Connell, I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for, excuse me, again, this was the Tim Orrick for vice chair?
Yes, Mr. Orrick sitting at the end there.
All right. We want to clarify and confirm that. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second for Tim Orrick for vice chair. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll call a roll.
Yep. Gregory Wolf.
Aye.
David Paderas.
Aye.
Lindsay Grisay.
Aye.
Stephen McGank.
Aye.
Tim Orrick.
I'll abstain.
Leslie Hind.
Aye.
Craig Connell.
Aye.
And Andrew Logan.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, well, we appreciate that. So we have new chair and vice chair for the next year for the Planning Commission. We appreciate that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wolf to resume the rest of the order of agenda, starting with public comments.
Appreciate the recognition. I always like to say when you get these things, it's like entering a pie eating contest, winning it, and what you win is more pie. So, thank you. And congratulations to Mr. Orrick as well. So next on the agenda is public comment. As you can see from the agenda, it's open to folks from the public to comment on things that are not on the agenda. And we typically limit that to 2 minutes. Is anybody on Zoom wishing to comment? Nobody on Zoom. Is there anybody here in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Hearing none, we will move on. Does anyone have any conflict disclosures here today? Conflict of interest? Hearing none, we'll move on. Any agenda additions and or deletions? Hearing none, we will move on. We need approval of the minutes. You all received those. Can I have a motion to approve?
Move that the Planning Commission approve the December 16, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've got a presentation on short-term rental regulations and a public hearing on that. So just for those of who are listening, we will have a presentation and then the public will have an opportunity to comment. And I will remind the commissioners, if you speak, please turn on your microphone because there are people listening online.
Good evening, Michelle Langer, County Planning staff. This is a presentation for proposed short-term rental regulations. The Board of County Commissioners requested staff to draft regulations for short-term rentals prior to the overall adoption of the new zoning regulations. The Planning Commission received general information at the December meeting, and this is a follow-up to that conversation. There are 5 articles that are proposed to be changed, and you have copies of the red line text in your packet. And I will go over each of the changes, and then I can answer any questions. So the first article to be proposed to be amended is Article 2, which is our definitions. Start off with our definition of short-term rental. Temporary provision of a dwelling unit or portion thereof for compensation to a person or group of people for periods of less than 30 days, but excludes bed and breakfast and commercial lodging facilities. This also does not allow for short-term rentals to be used for parties and meetings and all the fun stuff. Next section is Article 5 and 6. These are really just the sections that talk about enabling and enforcement. So Article 5 permits is the article which sets out the requirement that you need a permit for a short-term rental. And then Article 6 sets out for the enforcement and violation and penalties if that permit is either not obtained or not followed. Article 16 is really the meat of the regulations. This is where the performance standards and permitted locations is outlined. So STRs are proposed to be permitted in all planned rural and planned residential zoning districts. It's reviewed and permitted with an administrative permit, and then some of the details into the performance standards. The property owner shall delegate a local representative that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during any rental period to address complaints. Adequate off-street parking shall be provided for vehicles outside of the roadway. Parties and/or large gatherings shall not be permitted on the property. Quiet hours shall be observed from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. daily. Guests shall be limited to 2 people per bedroom plus 2 additional guests. This standard does allow for the renting of individual rooms. I know that was discussed at the last meeting, so it gives you a limit per room. Talks about adequate provisions for trash. There was some discussion at the Board of County Commissioners about trash sitting out and critters getting into that and such. And then another change is STRs permitted in an approved accessory dwelling unit. This was not something that was in the outline that you saw last month. And then Article 18, this is where the standards are for accessory dwelling units. And so the regulations in there state that ADUs cannot be used for short-term rental. And so that would be removed so that the short-term rental could be permitted in an approved ADU. We did receive a public comment from the Kansas City Regional Association of Realtors providing a model short-term rental ordinance for consideration for ideas of a baseline, and that should be, I believe, was provided for you. We did not receive any other public comments, although we did receive a phone call from somebody inquiring about our regulations, and she was excited to know that we were looking into it because they were looking forward to have that opportunity for when the World Cup is here. Staff does recommend approval of the short-term rental regulations as proposed, which is approval of resolution PC 26-1. And I can take any questions, and just a reminder that this is a public hearing.
Yes, this is Greg Wolf. Question, what will the permit fee be? Has that amount been set yet?
It is not set. That is up to the Board of County Commissioners. We do have some information that we've gathered from other entities, and it ranges from $100, $50, all the way up to $500. So we would probably look at something in the middle.
In the examples you cited, is that an annual fee or is that a one-time fee?
Here, I'm trying to think about it, and I have it right in front of me. Some of them just have an annual fee. Others have an initial fee with a renewal fee that's less. Looks like Douglas County has a per bedroom charge. So it really varies.
Any other questions for staff about this presentation?
Commissioner Praderis, currently, as the regulations state, is there any prohibition on short-term rentals, or are we just, is this simply to put in some rules and guidelines for short-term rentals? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, are we allowed to do short-term rentals currently, and what will this do for us?
Michelle Leininger, planning staff. Currently, our regulations are silent about short-term rentals. It's kind of, feel free to jump in, Sean or Jay. They just kind of happen, and we have really no regulations if there is a complaint about it. So, and we have had one that has had some complaints on it that we had to kind of work through. This at least gives us some basic guidelines to follow, and allows for that code-enabled possibility to enforce it and to go in there and deal with that. So it's actually more helpful, though we don't see a ton of activity with it.
That's true. Mr. Chair and Commissioner Paderas, I'm sorry. That is true. To expand on what Michelle indicated, we have had questions about this before. We know that there are existing short-term rentals in the unincorporated area, and the current zoning regulations do not address it. So it's actually been a problem in terms of enforcement. And our legal department is advised, and our consultant that we're working with on our zoning regulations advised if we're going to do anything, if we ever have a problem with a short-term rental, it obviously would help if we had regulations. If we're silent, you could make an interpretation that they're prohibited because they're not permitted, or you could make the interpretation that they're allowed. It's always better to have regulations in place for enforcement. And so what we're trying to do is establish those basic guidelines, like Michelle said. These are fairly straightforward standards for short-term rentals. And so this would allow them to be permitted according to those standards.
A follow-on to that, currently, if just the average rural resident created a problems that caused someone to call in a complaint, is there no enforcement method for that? Or, I mean, would that not be the method to enforce against complaints in this area as well?
Yeah, Sean Penley, planning staff, I could answer this. So if we do receive complaints, that's really how the enforcement will be handled. Just as we do with any other zoning violation in the county, it's usually a complaint basis. We don't have a regular full-time enforcement officer to check on various zoning regulations, so we follow up on a complaint basis. So if staff does receive a complaint, we'll notify the property. The procedure would be staff would notify the property owner of a complaint. We would investigate. We would look into what is currently, how the property is being used, make sure it's in compliance with the zoning regulations. If it's not, we would just notify the owner what the requirements are. We give them an opportunity to remedy any violation. And in this case, let's say we hear that they're having a short-term rental, they don't have a permit. Once this is adopted, we would notify them of the requirement, allow them opportunity to submit the application and get the permit issued. That would be how we would handle any enforcement.
Commissioner, excuse me, Jay Leipzig, just to follow up on that question as well. Currently, if there's a short-term rental and they're completely unregulated, so if someone was renting one out and there was a party or an issue, there were either a number of people or noise. The county does not have a noise ordinance, so it just becomes it's tricky to enforce it, frankly, or any. So we're talking about kind of setting a baseline, unless there's if you have 30 or 40 people in a home, for example, there's really, unless they're creating a huge disturbance or the sheriff is called, for example, it just is very difficult to look at any kind of enforcement on something like that.
Do I understand correctly that the same holds true for, in the instance of my neighbor having a party with his family, there's really no way to enforce anything there either if I were to complain of it? Is that what we're saying?
Essentially, yes. Although short-term rentals, what's different about this is, the owner is not present. And so that's really the difference on these. The owner is not living on the property or is not there. Whereas you assume if there's a party, your neighbor's house, or some activity, the owner is there at the residence or the premise.
Any other questions about the presentation? Thank you. Hearing none, I will invite anyone to come to the lectern and give us their thoughts on this issue. If you just identify yourself before you speak, and then tell us what you'd like us to hear.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jana Larson, and I am a local realtor and co-chair of the Public Policy Committee at the Kansas City Regional Association of Realtors. Thank you for the opportunity to offer brief comments this evening. I'm here simply to commend the Commission for putting forward a sensible, well-balanced, update to Johnson County's short-term rental regulations. Your approach recognizes the importance of maintaining neighborhood quality while also giving homeowners reasonable flexibility, something that has become increasingly important across our region. KCRAR shared our model ordinance with you in advance of tonight's meeting, and we appreciate being able to contribute to the broader policy discussion. We are especially supportive of the added flexibility to allow accessory dwelling units to be used as short-term lodging options. ADUs offer homeowners practical solutions for multi-generational living, additional income, and housing choice, and this update incorporates them in a thoughtful and well-regulated manner. As our region prepares to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup, expanding responsible lodging options, particularly through well-regulated short-term rentals, will help ensure we can accommodate the significant number of visitors expected across the Kansas City metro. These updates position Johnson County to participate in that opportunity while preserving community expectations. Overall, the proposal reflects common sense regulation, clear standards, reasonable oversight, and a focus on addressing problems without overburdening responsible homeowners. We appreciate the Commission's work on this and your commitment to a well-balanced, forward-thinking policy. Thank you again for your time and diligence. KCRAR stands to serve as a resource and a committed partner in shaping housing policy that strengthens Johnson County, not just for today's needs, but for the opportunities ahead.
Thank you. And if you'd state your name and then let us know what you want to tell us.
My name is Jeff Carson. I actually live in Kansas City, Kansas, but I am the Director of Realtor Advocacy for the Kansas City Regional Association of Realtors. I'm also the Chairman of the Planning Commission for the Unified Government. So I sit in the seat that you all sit every month. I appreciate the work that staff does, and I appreciate the work that you all do. And to be honest, it's great to be on this side of the dais for once. I know that I always appreciate short and to the point testimony and not the rambling ones that we hear. And I made sure that Jana was not going to go over when she testified. I said we get real testy about that. Just real briefly, I just wanted to thank you all for putting this forward. Thank staff for putting this forward. I think this is just a very well established approach. And given the fact that we're going to be host to 650,000 visitors to our city in the short term, we just think this is a very balanced approach to being allowed customers to use their, not customers, but your citizens to use their properties to the highest and best use for the short time that we're going to play host to basically what amounts to a very large population. So again, thank you for all that you do in your roles. Again, thank you to staff for everything they do. It's actually nice to see all of you. I attend a lot of your meetings online, so many of you are familiar to me. I feel like I know you because I attend them on a regular basis, so it's great to be here with you tonight, and thank you very much.
Anyone else in the audience present that would like to speak? You're just confirming no other people on Zoom?
No.
All right. At this point, I will close the public hearing, unless staff tells me not to. So the public hearing is closed, and staff is the next action to address the PC 26-1. So at this point, I will entertain a motion for PC 26-1, which is the edits to the code that we just went over. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve that?
This is Craig Connell. I'll make a motion that we recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners of Resolution PC 26-1, amending certain articles of the zoning regulations regarding short-term rentals as presented by the staff.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Logan, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 5-2. Thank you for the presentation and for the public participation. We've done election of officers, directors report. Is that Sean or Jay?
Mr. Chairman, Sean Penley, I'll start, and I believe Jay does want to add something I don't know if they did it during this board director's report, they can make that the third item. I'd like to give two updates, if I could. The first is for Board of County Commissioners actions. There hasn't been a final action yet. However, staff did make a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners at the Committee of the Whole meeting in, was that December? November, excuse me. November of last year, staff made a presentation to the board regarding zoning board consolidation, and I believe we gave an update at the last meeting. The board did direct staff to prepare a resolution for a consolidation of the east and west zoning boards. So staff has prepared a resolution, and have scheduled a public hearing for that consolidation at the February 12th meeting. So we anticipate a final decision on that consolidation at that public hearing. The east and west zoning boards will continue to meet, though, until the effective date of that consolidation. So once it's been officially approved and a date set and a new board is appointed, the current boards will continue meeting. So we do have applications scheduled for the next month, possibly the next 2 months. So we'll continue meeting at least for the next 2 months with those boards. But we will have a hearing with the Board of County Commissioners on February 12th for that consolidation. The other item I did want to bring to the attention of the Planning Commission was also at another Committee of the Whole meeting earlier this month, I believe it was January 15th, staff presented to the board an update regarding the CARNIP update. If you recall, the Comprehensive Arterial Road Network Plan, staff had had the public hearing with the Planning Commission at the meeting in December, and or maybe it was October, it goes way back even further. In October of last year, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the comprehensive plan updates, including CARNIP, and there were some changes that the Planning Commission recommended. And in that, we presented that to the Board of County Commissioners at the Committee of the Whole meeting on January 15th, and the board directed staff to remand that application or the proposed update back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. What they had requested was that the Planning Commission reconsider the recommendation for Edgerton Road. If you recall, there was a recommendation on that designation, the CARNIP designation for Edgerton Road as a type 3 2-lane road. That was a change from what was type 3 4-lane road as recommended by staff. The Board of County Commissioners wants the Planning Commission to reconsider that item. So we'll bring that back before the board at the next meeting on February 24th. So staff will prepare a memo outlining the directives from the Board of County Commissioners to reconsider. We'll present that to the Planning Commission for discussion, and then have that scheduled for the meeting in February. I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding those updates.
Sean, Craig Connell. So the second part of our motion was to have them consider a study, an economic study, to say, is there a better corridor to use than Edgerton Road, looking at, wetland, crossing bridges, all the stuff that wasn't considered before. And was there discussion on that?
Yes, staff did also present that as well, and that's, I think the general directive, I won't get into too much detail since we're not really having an actual consideration this evening, but they did ask to reconsider that as well. I don't think that there was a direction to do a further study, but we'll present that at the next meeting, and we'll discuss that in more detail. And staff can also give a presentation on that, addressing that part of the recommendation. You're correct, there were two changes to that amendment, the amendment. So we'll present both of those at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of other quick updates. Actually, just to correct something.
Hey, this is Commissioner Grisey. Sorry, I had my hand up before we moved on from that. Can we get a copy of or sent a link to the meeting minutes from the commissioners' meeting on this topic so that we can kind of read their actual statements that were made and concerns that were raised on the CARNIP issue?
Yes, Sean Penley, County Planning staff. Yes, we would be happy to forward a link to the Committee of the Whole meeting on January 15th to the Planning Commission. That's certainly a good idea. The board does not have transcript of the minutes like the planning commission and zoning boards do, but we will, that's a good idea. We can certainly share the link from that committee of the whole meeting to the board. And staff will also prepare a memo outlining some of those recommendations and the directives from the board. We'll discuss that, but that's certainly something staff can share with all of the planning commissioners before the next meeting.
And this is Jay Leipzig. There's also on the county's website is a video of the meeting as well. So that transcript is not there, but there is a video of that meeting, and we'll have all of those issues summarized in a memorandum to you. And this goes before you again, and is it February 26th?
February 24th.
February 24th will be the next planning commission date. The other thing I want to mention is that there's just a slight correction on the final vote for the short-term rental regulations. The vote was actually 6-2. There's a total of 8 people here this evening online. So
Yep.
just
My
to correct
my
that.
apologies, my math was off.
That's okay. Just
Yes.
to correct that record, it was 6-2, 6 ayes and 2 noes. The last thing I wanted to mention as part of the director's report is, as you recall, some of the folks that have been on this planning commission for a long period of time, I think it might be just Lindsay, actually, as I'm thinking about it. We used to serve a light dinner before the planning commission meeting. When I say a light dinner, it's basically just sandwiches and chips and that type of thing, but just kind of a light supper prior to the meeting, because it does, beginning the meeting at 5:45, it's difficult sometimes to come, finish your work day, get over here and grab something to eat. So we have done that in the past, and we stopped doing it just because I think part of it was during COVID or after the aftermath of that, and we just kind of got away from that. But if you all think that's something that would be a benefit to you, we certainly would be willing to do that. I think we could afford that in our budget. So, and something fairly simple, such as like, Mr. Good Sense or something like that. At least to have some food before the meeting, because you never know. Some meetings are fairly short, but some might be fairly long. I think our meeting in October, the Carnup was a fairly long meeting, if I recall. So just to throw it out there, if you all agree with that, or if you think that's reasonable, we can certainly do that. We were actually hoping to do it this evening, but we weren't able to quite pull that together. But I think I know that that probably would be beneficial to you.
This is Greg Wolf. Just full disclosure, I suggested this when I spoke with Jay before, and I said, one, I think it's good to create some camaraderie for us to eat beforehand a little bit. Two, I think it's a nice perk, whether all being a small one, to feed us as part of our volunteer efforts. And three, I think it also encourages folks to come live, which I think is a good thing, have a meal as part of it. So I'm supportive of this, but I will defer to the will of the commission on this. I think it's a win-win proposition.
It's Craig Connell. Jay, I've got it. I don't know if it's related to this or not, but the time of start of this meeting, the zoning board starts at 6:30 p.m. and this one is 5:45, which I think is an odd time. Is there a logic behind why there are different times for those two meetings in the first place?
We actually, no, is the short answer. We used to have, it was even more convoluted before. We had different zoning boards starting at different times. We had, I think, one that started at 6, we had one that started at 6:30, and so that has been changed. That historically, that 5:45 time for the planning commission has been the case in the last couple of years, at 6:30 for the zoning boards. We have talked about changing those times, and staff is certainly not opposed to it if it's more convenient. The only thing we will need to change is we have the meeting time noted in our bylaws. We'll have to make a slight amendment to our bylaws to change that meeting time. But no, there's not any real, it is varied. At one time we had 8 zoning boards, and we probably had 5 different times for those zoning boards. So staff is not opposed to that, just whatever you all would think in terms of convenience for your schedule. Frankly, from the staff's perspective, I like the 5:45. I think but if that's too early, that I understand that too. If you're getting home from work or whatever, or getting over here before if you have to leave work early or something like that.
Okay.
This is Greg Wolf. I would suggest if folks want to make a change to give your input to Jay by email, and we can discuss it at the next meeting to see what suggestions, if any, we have from the commission, if that works for you, Jay.
Yeah, it does. And just as an additional add-on, we have talked about this time change previously, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and the group at that time, or the commission at that time, decided to keep that 5:45 time. But that if you'd like to change that, please let me know or tell me what time you would propose.
Chair, Lindsay has her hand raised.
Yes, Lindsay.
Yeah, hi, this is Commissioner Grisay. Just because I'm coming from work, and if we decide to do the dinner, I mean, even just a 15-minute would be very helpful to me because I'm always rushing in at the last minute to make the meeting. So just my 2 cents, but I'd be happy also to email that to Jay.
This is Greg Wolf. Appreciate the feedback. If others have feedback, just let Jay know, because there are others who aren't here. And so I'll let Jay make sure he communicates that to the 4, I believe, commissioners who aren't here. We can get a complete assessment of folks' thoughts.
Yeah, look for a report at your next meeting.
Fair enough. Anything else from you, Jay?
No.
Anything else from you, Sean?
Nothing further, thank you.
Any old business we need to discuss? Any new business we need to discuss? Do we have a sense of what's going to be on our agenda next month, or?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean Penley, planning staff. The only item that will be on the February agenda will be the remand for the Carnip update. That would be the only item. And we may also give an update regarding our draft zoning regulations. That's something I know there's been some question about that. We will be scheduling at a future meeting date the consideration of the full draft regulations. We're probably going to try to separate that because it is such a large document. We're talking about a complete overhaul of the existing zoning regulations. So there's 3 modules. We're just wrapping up module 1. We'll probably bring that forward as an update just for module 1, I think. We gave an initial update, if you recall, last year, but we'll probably give another update. And we can also share the status of public comments that we've received and any updates. So that might be something that we could give as a board report item maybe next month as well. But there's no other public hearing items. The only real regular business at the next meeting would be the Carnip update.
And this is Greg Wolf again. One request I would make is if you could get us the memo that you described about the issues the commission, the county commissioners raised more than a couple of days before the meeting, maybe a week in advance. I think that would be helpful to us to think through it. Sometimes my day job gets in the way of my other activities, and I can't always jump on something if I only have a couple of days to do it.
Absolutely. We'll send that packet out the week before the meeting, so that'll be roughly about February 17th for that meeting on the 24th. We'll send that out 1 week in advance.
Terrific. Any other new business? Hearing none, then we are adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.